The markets may be closed, but the business stories are just heating up. I'm Robert Tan. Catch up with us on Business Brief. Here are today's top business stories. Ombudsman fights for truth in Cabral files mystery. House ratifies to pass 2026 budget amid tight deadline. Low inflation signals big boost or trouble for PH economy. Trump and Netanyahu face high-stakes ceasefire talks at Mar-a-Lago. Some alleged Cabral files have surfaced, prompting the Ombudsman to take a cautious, evidence-based approach while verifying their authenticity and ensuring due process. Andrea Salve is on the line for more details. Go ahead, Andrea.
The Office of the Ombudsman says it is taking a cautious and evidence-based approach in handling the alleged Cabral files, stressing that the integrity of the documents remains unverified. In a video statement earlier today, Assistant Ombudsman Nico Clavano revealed that several individuals claiming to have copies of the alleged files had come forward, prompting the office to prioritize authentication over public claims. Clavano said that after Batangas Representative Leandro Leviste publicly announced his possession of the supposed Cabral files, while former Public Works Undersecretary Cathy Cabral was still alive and represented by counsel, the Ombudsman initiated contact with the lawmaker as, quote, a matter of prudence and diligence. However, according to Clavano, only select portions relevant to specific questions were shown to the office and not the complete set of files. Cabral's computer is now under the Ombudsman's custody and that the investigation will move forward by legally obtaining and examining original digital evidence.
The office is preparing to conduct a digital forensic examination of the CPU of the former USEC. And this will be done transparently and in coordination with the Commission on Audit, COA, with the DPWH, the Office of the Ombudsman, of course, and the PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group. And this is to ensure the integrity of the whole process.
Clavano emphasized that the alleged files, which supposedly contain budget insertions for infrastructure projects, are only one component of a broader investigation. He said authorities must still verify whether the projects listed actually exist and whether public funds were properly used. The Assistant Ombudsman also clarified that a budget insertion by itself does not automatically constitute a crime. He added that criminal liability arises only if there is proof of fraud, misuse of funds, or projects that do not exist. Clavano urged the public to let the investigation run its course, guided by facts, credible evidence, and due process. Back to you, Robert.
Thank you for that report, Andrea Salve. Meanwhile, on to former Public Works Undersecretary Catalina Cabral's death. Authorities say she deliberately fell to her death at a cliff along Quezon Road in Tuba, Benguet. The Philippine National Police reports forensic evidence suggesting Cabral, who was found dead on December 18, was unlikely pushed. Based on a 3D scan of the area where Cabral was found lifeless, the PNP Forensic Group officer in charge, Colonel Pierre Paul Carpio, says the scratches on her hands, palms, and back suggest she slipped down the slope. According to Carpio, if she had been pushed, she would have landed farther than 0.2 meters away from the base of the ravine. Cabral has been linked to the flood control scandal, with officials saying she had knowledge that could have helped the probe as a former high-ranking DPWH official, and her death continues to raise questions as investigators work to establish the full circumstances surrounding the case. More on former Public Works Undersecretary Catalina Cabral's death, questions surrounding her role in the flood control scandal, and what happens next remain. On Bilyonaryo News Channel's The Spokes, the former IBP president, Attorney Vic Hoyas, weighs in on the growing public calls for the recovery of Cabral's suspected ill-gotten wealth. Hoyas doubts the assets can still be reclaimed before President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s term ends in less than 3 years.
It will take long because there may be an intestate proceedings.
Yes.
As far as the properties of Cabral is concerned. Now, the moment there is an intestate proceedings, I doubt whether the civil action for forfeiture can stand alone because it is considered as claims against the estate.
Yes.
So are
And when
you,
it is considered as claims against the estate, you must file it in the interstate proceedings.
and again, going back, is there an estimate? Like, can we see that happening before the term, before this administration terms end?
I doubt.
Hoya said the newly BICAM-approved 6.793 trillion peso 2026 budget is massive, raising concerns that some funds may remain undisclosed. For businesses and taxpayers, the handling of undisclosed funds and unresolved assets like Cabral's underscores the importance of transparency and accountability in economic confidence and market stability. A lawmaker weighs in on the public trust ratings of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and Vice President Sara Duterte based on the latest social weather station survey. On BNC's At the Forefront, ACT Teachers Party List representative Antonio Tino says Marcos' net trust rating at -3% reflects public frustration over the government's handling of the flood control scandal.
As far as the president's rating, maybe the president was hoping that by casting himself as the protagonist in the flood control scandal, he would, receive a significant bump in his approval ratings, and yet we see the opposite.
Tino also names top officials including PBBM, former Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, former Budget Secretary Amena Pangandaman, and former Public Works Secretary Manuel Bonoan as the big fish that should have been investigated earlier on. Meanwhile, Tino adds that Duterte's absence from the spotlight has helped her maintain higher ratings, rising to 31%.
She's been on the sidelines. The issues relate the anomalies related to or connected with her have been set aside. Namely, confidential fund, the abuse of 612.5 million in confidential funds, the impeachment complaint was set aside because of the Supreme Court ruling.
The latest ratings underscore the public's demand for accountability and signal growing uncertainty over government infrastructure projects. Right to Know, Right Now Coalition and People's Budget Coalition call on Public Works and Highways Secretary Vince Dizon to fully disclose project lists classified as allocables and non-allocables from 2016 to 2025. The group says these records, along with congressional insertions in the national budget, are public documents subject to transparency and necessary for accountability in infrastructure planning and spending. The coalition also urged Dizon and Congress to clarify what these terms mean to ensure public scrutiny and prevent governance gaps or potential abuse of state resources. Local authorities in Quezon City padlocks a hub that has served as the heartbeat of humanitarian work for over 25 years. The Quezon City Hall closed the Rotary Center Foundation Incorporated building in Barangay Paligsahan along Roses Avenue on December 26, citing the lack of a building permit. In a statement, the foundation says it has long applied for a permit, but the City Hall has consistently refused to issue one. The RCFI has petitioned the Court of Appeals to determine whether the city mayor can unilaterally refuse to implement a city council resolution authorizing the lease renewal. Meanwhile, the Quezon City LGU clarifies that it has an agreement with Rotary District 3780, not with the RCFI, which is not recognized by the Rotary International. As such, the foundation does not have an authorized permit or declared income, which violates the city's business regulations. The Quezon City government has stressed the building is meant to be a community center, making them available for free to accredited socio-civic organizations, a move supported by Rotary District 3780. We're taking a short break. Stick around. We've got more stories ahead. You're watching Business Brief. In less than 2 minutes, the House of Representatives ratifies the proposed 2026 national budget today, totaling 6.793 trillion pesos. Via a voice vote, Iloilo Representative Lawrence Defensor moved for the ratification on the bicameral panel report, which later seconded by his colleagues. The ratified BICAM report mandates that all cash and financial aid be distributed only by authorized government officials or accredited partners. The Senate is next to adopt the report reconciling all disagreeing provisions. Once ratified, it will be posted online and transmitted to Malacanang for President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s signature. Marcos is expected to sign the 2026 GAB into law on the first week of January. Lawmakers are saying this budget strikes a balance between transparency and accountability. Businesses and investors watch closely, assessing how government spending will impact economic stability in the year ahead. The Bangko Sentral and economists are looking at low inflation for the start of 2026, as foreign currency deposit unit or FCDU loans are also down. Paulo Barcelon is on the line for us to break the numbers. Paulo, go ahead.
Robert, economists say low inflation could extend into early 2026, driven by strong base effects and falling global rice prices. The BSP projects December 2025 inflation to settle between 1.2 and 2%, a range RCBC chief economist Michael Ricafort says is possible.
It's possible. By December, it would be 1.2. That's still mathematically possible because of the base effects. Because we have seen the world, the world price of rice, rough rice, it's the lowest in 7 years in recent months because, the Philippines stopped importing since September. And until it was extended until December. Yeah, there could be some respite, some window to allow importation by January.
The Bangko Sentral, however, warns of possible upward pressures from weather-affected food supply, strong holiday demand, and higher LPG and gasoline prices. These may be partly offset by lower electricity rates in Meralco-serviced areas and declining kerosene and diesel prices. Meanwhile, foreign currency deposit unit or FCDU loans fell by 5% in the third quarter to $15.13 billion, although most remain medium to long-term and are extended mainly to Philippine-based borrowers. Despite lower loans, Robert, foreign currency deposits grew year-on-year, signaling continued dollar liquidity for businesses with foreign exchange needs. The BSP says it will maintain a data-dependent policy stance as the Philippine Statistics Authority prepares to release official inflation data in early January. Robert.
Thank you for that report, Paulo Barcelon. Meanwhile, economists say low inflation and strong consumer spending are helping stabilize the Philippine economy as it enters 2026. Jonathan Ravela, senior advisor at Reyes Tacandong & Company, says consumer confidence is crucial, with households more willing to spend now that price pressures are well controlled. He notes that government infrastructure spending and business sentiment will determine whether this positive trend could sustain through the first quarter.
But how sustainable is the current economic performance if it relies heavily on government intervention and targeted support programs?
Okay, that's a very good question. You have to understand that the Philippine economy is 70% driven by consumer spending. And as long as everybody spends, we have a good indicator, which is consumer confidence, which is already signaling that they're willing to start spending again now that inflation is well controlled. The problem is the business sentiment. People are hesitant to spend because the business climate is not there. But once people and consumers' confidence is very important because especially for households, once they start feeling comfortable to spend, that is actually a very good signal for business to further expand.
Diesel and kerosene prices are going up once again as the 2025 ends, while gasoline prices remain unchanged. Fuel retailers announced another round of pump price hikes, with diesel and kerosene set to increase by 60 centavos starting Tuesday. Gasoline prices, however, will stay the same. These adjustments follow prior weeks of mixed movements in fuel costs, continuing a trend of rising prices toward the end of the year. For motorists and businesses, higher diesel and kerosene prices could mean increased transport and delivery costs, which may affect consumer prices and logistic expenses as 2026 begins. South Korean e-commerce giant Coupang announces a $1.18 billion compensation package for 33.7 million users following a massive data breach. Users will receive vouchers worth about $35 each for Coupang services as part of the plan. The move follows founder Kim Bom's public apology, though he declines to attend parliamentary hearings on the breach due to prior commitments. We're taking another short break. Up next, taking a quick look at the market post-Christmas. That and more when Business Brief returns. Stay with us. No Filipino is left behind. In a year-end report, the Office of the President features its 12 most impactful projects of 2025. Leading the top 12 impactful projects of the year is the 20 peso per kilo rice program. The program has made rice more affordable and accessible, easing the financial burden of Filipino families while supporting farmers' livelihoods. Health initiatives were also prioritized. The government carried out a record-breaking distribution of ambulances to all local government units. It also implemented full coverage of ward accommodation expenses at DOH hospitals and a comprehensive benefit package to Filipinos. In geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas, government services were streamlined and made more accessible, while internet connectivity and free Wi-Fi access were expanded. Collaboration between the government, LGUs, and the private sector led to waterway clearing and cleaning operations. The Marcos administration also worked to revitalize the historic Pasig River. Beyond improving lives, these projects also boost the Philippine economy, supporting agriculture, strengthening infrastructure, and creating more opportunities for business and investment as the country moves into 2026. Asian shares are mixed as a lackluster post-Christmas session on Wall Street overshadows rising tension over Taiwan. South Korea's Kospi, China's Shanghai Composite, and Singapore's Straits Times are in the green, while the rest of the region is in the red. On currencies, the US dollar is flat against the Hong Kong dollar, while the Australian dollar is also flat against the US dollar. The US dollar gains against the Singapore dollar and the Thai baht, while the greenback slips against the Japanese yen and the South Korean won. In commodities, gold is down nearly 0.4%, while oil prices are mixed. In crypto, Bitcoin is up nearly 3%, and Ethereum is up more than 3%. Philippine stocks drop in the first trading day of the week. The PSEI closes 0.2% lower to 60.52. Majority of the sectoral indices are in the red, while with mining and oil falling the most at more than 1%. Advancers outpaced decliners 139 to 75, with value turnover at 4.3 billion pesos. The day's most active stocks are mixed, with Alliance Global rising the most at over 6%, SM Prime falling the most at more than 3%. On currencies, the peso is currently trading at 58.77 against the US dollar, down from the previous close of 58.71. Precious metals pulled back Monday, with gold easing from near record highs to $45.12 per ounce and silver trading around $79.70 after early session surges. Analysts say profit-taking and positive Trump-Zelensky talks on Ukraine weakened safe haven demand, while silver's industrial and investment uses keep it strong. Market experts see gold heading toward $50, and silver potentially hitting $100 in 2026 if U.S. rate cuts continue and industrial demand remains robust. The Philippine Securities and Exchange Commission adopts new sustainability disclosure rules, requiring listed companies and large firms to align reporting with international standards starting 2026. The rules cover general sustainability and climate-related disclosures, with phased implementation based on company size and market value, and include assurance requirements for greenhouse gas emissions. SEC Chair Francis Lim says the move aims to improve transparency and help companies and stakeholders understand the financial impacts of sustainability risks and opportunities. The Philippine Securities and Exchange Commission is encouraging private hospitals to raise funds through the capital markets to expand facilities and address the country's acute hospital bed gap. Under the SEC HOPE's program, 18 hospitals have registered since December 2025, with total shares worth nearly 20 billion pesos, benefiting from streamlined securities registration. SEC Chair Francis Lim says open capital markets can help modernize healthcare facilities and improve access to services nationwide. Vista Land and Lifescapes Incorporated, led by ultra-billionaire Manny Villar, secures a 5-year corporate notes facility worth 13.61 billion pesos. The initial 7.22 billion peso draw at a fixed annual rate of 7.89% will refinance debt and fund general corporate needs, with subsidiaries guaranteeing the facility. China Bank Capital acts as sole book runner, while Vista Land recently settled 3.5 billion pesos in retail bonds matured on December 22. Citicorp Power Incorporated declares 5.58 billion shares of Citicorp Renewable Energy Corporation as property dividends to shareholders, subject to SEC approval and other regulatory consent. The distribution will streamline ownership between Citicorp Holding Investments and Purple Seed Capital, while maintaining majority control and management oversight of CREC. President Oliver Tan says the move will support the company's strategic direction and continue expansion of solar, hydro, and wind projects in the Philippines. Chinese automaker BYD is poised to overtake Tesla as the world's largest electric vehicle company in annual sales, with over 2 million EVs sold by November 2025. Tesla's sales are expected to total 1.65 million for the year, hurting its global leadership as EV demand slows in key markets following the end of U.S. tax credits. Experts say BYD is expanding international production, and Tesla's potential growth in autonomous vehicles will shape the future competition in the EV industry. U.S. President Donald Trump is set to meet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago to push for the second phase of the U.S.-brokered ceasefire in Gaza, amid slow progress and disputes over security and reconstruction plans. The next phase aims to establish a board of peace to oversee a demilitarized Gaza, rebuild communities, and create a multinational security force while normalizing relations between Israel and Arab countries. Trump and Netanyahu will also discuss logistical challenges, Palestinian administration, and potential funding from countries like the United Arab Emirates, as details on the International Stabilization Force remain unsettled. Avatar: Fire and Ash stays at the top of the North American box office, earning $64 million over the weekend after Christmas and $217.6 million globally. Disney's Zootopia 2 climbs to second place with $20 million, while Timothée Chalamet's Marty Supreme soars to third with $17.5 million. Other notable openings include Anaconda at fifth place with $14.5 million, as holiday movie-going boosts all top performers. And that's a wrap for today's Business Brief. I'm Robert Tan. Join us again tomorrow for the stories that help you plan your next big, bold moves in business. Only here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.